did the anger and outrage from the fan base, has that exceeded what you were kind of planning for?
Yeah, good question. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, but really the way we looked at it is, you know, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage.
What? Excuse me? Let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. You're Nico Harrison. Not only are you smug, not only are you condescending, not only are you arrogant, somehow you're still the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. Part of your job, some would even say one of the primary parts of your job, is understanding your fan base, being in touch with your fan base. You know, the people buying tickets, the people buying merchandise, the people paying every month for Mavs TV, which pays for your salary. This is a fan base that is emotionally tied to Dirk Nowitzki. He hadn't played in half a decade. How in the hell can you not know that fans are emotionally tied to Luka Doncic? This isn't like trading some free agent that you acquired over the summer. I know some in the media are claiming that people would have gotten over this if Nico Harrison had gotten more in exchange for Luka Doncic. I don't think that's true. This would be, I hate to say equivalent because there's no equivalent to this, but this would be the equivalent of the Saints trading Drew Brees in 2008. The city had fallen in love with him. Drew Brees was being credited for revitalizing New Orleans after Katrina damn near wiped the city off the map. There are certain players that are untouchable, untradeable. There are certain players that no matter how much they're a pain in your ass, you deal with it. Right now, the Pelicans are thinking about trading Zion Williamson. If that happens, the outrage from the fan base is going to be extreme. And Zion Williamson is nowhere near. He is nowhere near the player that Luka Doncic is. The handling of this entire situation by Nico Harrison, it has been an unmitigated disaster. Clearly, this dude is in over his head. Clearly, Nico Harrison has no idea what he's doing. Problem is, the new owners in Dallas, they have no idea what the hell they're doing either. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Yesterday, it was reported that Mavs owner Patrick Dumont is frustrated with Nico Harrison. I would imagine so. This dumbass cost you billions of dollars with a single decision. This dumbass sacrificed the next 10 years of your franchise in order to win now. And you can't win now because you're not even in the damn playoffs. Supposedly, Patrick Dumont is pissed off with Nico Harrison because Nico Harrison failed to warn him that the fan base would revolt if they traded Luka. How can a billionaire be this uninformed? How can someone who doesn't know shit about basketball be approved to own a team in the NBA? Let's assume for a second Patrick Dumont's head is so far up his ass he didn't realize that trading Luka was a bad idea. Let's assume for a second that Nico Harrison told him that the outrage would subside because Anthony Davis, Tony was going to lead them to a championship. If you're Patrick Dumont, why would you not consult with Mark Cuban? Why wouldn't you ask Mark Cuban his thoughts on this trade? I have read several reports over the last few days, and from my understanding, Mark Cuban has essentially been ostracized in Dallas. Why? We're not talking about a political campaign. If Nico Harrison were selecting a presidential candidate, Mark Cuban's opinion would be useless. But this is the same Mark Cuban that transformed the Dallas Mavericks from a flaming ass fire into a highly respected championship caliber franchise. In what world do you not ask that guy his thoughts on a franchise altering trade? Up until February, was Nico Harrison a bad general manager? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, I thought he was one of the best in the league. Brought in Kyrie when everyone else had written Kyrie off. Traded for Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington. Picked up Najee Marshall last summer in free agency. He built a roster that perfectly complemented Luka Doncic. And look, even with Anthony Davis, if everyone had stayed healthy, I think the Mavs were a championship contender. But the outrage to this trade, it has absolutely nothing to do with basketball. If Luka Doncic spent his entire career in Dallas, never won a title, Mavs fans would have been fine with it because Luka Doncic was their guy. It is incredibly rare for a homegrown player, someone that you scouted, drafted, someone that essentially grew up in your city. It is incredibly rare for him to be a once-in-a-generation type of player and for them to want to spend their entire career with your franchise. As the general manager of the team, how in the hell can you not understand that? Even if you didn't understand that fans were emotionally tied to Luka, how can you fail to understand what happens when you trade a player of this magnitude? The Orlando Magic ran Shaq out of town. They were a dumpster fire for a decade. When Dwight Howard left, they were a disaster for another decade. Both times LeBron James left Cleveland, they struggled for years. Hell, the Bulls have been trying to replace Michael Jordan for the last 30 years. As much as Jerry Krause did not get along with Black Jesus, he knew Jordan was untouchable. He knew under no circumstances was Michael Jordan to be traded. Nico Harrison failed to come to that understanding, and more than likely, it is going to cost him his job. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.